The movie begins by showing John Kane desperately trying to evade members of a drug cartel mafia. He manages to slip into an air vent and escape, but not before grabbing a mysterious suitcase. Kane then hurries to his car, which members of the mafia are chasing. Despite his attempts to outrun them, they continue to shoot at his vehicle, causing it to spin out of control and crash. As he lies unconscious in a hospital, Kane undergoes surgery. When he wakes up, he suffers from amnesia and has no memory of his past. Doctors informed him that his name was John Kane and that he had been in a serious car accident that caused his amnesia. Not long after, a woman named Anna introduces herself as Kane's wife, claiming to have known him for years. However, Kane has no memory of Anna and cannot trust her without proof of their relationship. The scene shifts to a burned-out house, where DEA agent Ethan and his team are investigating. Upon arriving at the scene, they find a badly burned body difficult to identify. However, after discovering a secret door beneath the house, Ethan becomes convinced that Kane is still alive and flees the house before it is set on fire. He then urges his team to gather clues and find Kane's location quickly. As Kane recovers in the hospital, Anna tries to help him regain his memories by reminding him of their shared experiences. She talks about his birthday, their vacations in Europe, and the cities they've visited together. When Kane asks about his family and loved ones, Anna tells him he has no one left but her. During this conversation, a middle-aged man named Eddie enters the room and greets Kane, claiming to be one of his closest friends. Eddie asserts that he has known Kane for years, and their relationship is like family. Despite these claims, Kane is unable to remember Anna or Eddie and remains hesitant to trust them. After greeting Kane, Eddie leaves the treatment room and goes to speak with Dr. Garza about Kane's condition. The doctor tells him that it is uncertain when Kane's memories will return, and that they must wait for his recovery. However, Eddie is unwilling to wait and demands that Dr. Garza inject Kane with special drugs to restore his memories. He threatens to harm Dr. Garza's son if he does not comply, leaving the doctor with no choice but to agree. It is unclear what the relationship is between Eddie and Kane, but Eddie is desperate to get his hands on the suitcase that Kane was hiding before the car accident. That night, Dr. Garza and two nurses arrive in Kane's room to administer the memory-restoring drugs. As Dr. Garza prepares to inject Kane, he becomes suspicious of the doctor's actions and fights back. After knocking out the doctor, Kane changes his clothes and grabs a gun from Anna's bag. He then asks Anna to leave the hospital with him, as he is certain someone is after him. Despite Anna's claims of being his wife, Kane remains skeptical and wonders if she is part of a conspiracy against him. As Kane and Anna enter the elevator, a young man from another floor joins them. Kane initially does not suspect the man, but when he sees him secretly taking out his phone, he realizes that he is one of Eddie's men. Kane quickly knocks the man unconscious. However, the man has already reported Kane's location to Eddie and his other men. When Kane and Anna reach the ground floor, they are confronted by one of Eddie's men and forced back into the elevator. However, the elevator suddenly malfunctions due to the power being cut off by Eddie and his men. In order to escape, Kane and Anna climb out of the elevator's roof and onto the top of the hospital building, using a cable rope. Once there, Kane takes a phone from one of Eddie's men and gets a call from him, who reveals that he is only interested in the briefcase that Kane had hidden before the accident. Eddie demands to know where Kane has hidden the suitcase, but he's still suffering from amnesia, refuses to say anything and hangs up. Eddie and his men go to the security room to track Kane's location via CCTV cameras and instruct their crew to search every floor and room in the hospital for him. Meanwhile, Kane takes Anna to an electrical warehouse and ties her to a chair, demanding to know why Eddie is after him. Anna tells him that she does not know much about the reason for Eddie's pursuit, but she knows that Kane and Eddie have been close friends for a long time. She reveals that Kane is a member of one of the city's biggest drug cartels and has worked with Eddie on various projects for years. However, a few nights ago, after Kane obtained a mysterious suitcase from the general's office, he decided to flee from Eddie. Anna does not know why Kane fled or where he hid the suitcase before the car accident. Upon hearing her story, Kane is shocked and struggles to believe that he was involved in drug dealing, as it goes against his moral code. Anna pleads with Kane to tell her where he hid the suitcase, but he is unable to remember anything about it. She asks him to try and slowly recall the events leading up to the accident, reminding him that they are lovers and must stay together. Kane has a vague image of a female figure in his memory, but he is unsure if it is Anna. After obtaining a weapon from an equipment storage room, Kane goes to the hospital corridor and shoots Eddie's men, killing several of them. He then returns to his treatment room to search for clues about his identity. In his wallet, he finds a piece of paper with the cafe address, bank account number, and phone number. As Kane investigates further, two of Eddie's men ambush him and use drugs to subdue him. Despite being under the influence of the drug, Kane continues to fight Eddie's men and manages to defeat them. However, more of Eddie's men arrive, and a new fight ensues. Kane is able to defeat them all and flees the room. He is then pursued by Roy, who engages him in a fierce fight. Kane could defeat him and get away from there. As he tries to escape through the back door of the hospital kitchen, Roy shows up again and corners Kane, who engages him in another fight. In the end, Kane can defeat Roy and kill him. Dr. Garza appears in the room and reveals the truth about Kane's past to him. According to information provided by Eddie, Kane had stolen a secret suitcase from General Montejo, a corrupt commander in the U.S. military who protects drug cartels in various states in exchange for wealth and power. Dr. Garza explains that Eddie is a drug cartel leader protected by General Montejo and that the suitcase likely contains valuable information owned by the general. He reveals that Eddie forced him to inject Kane with special drugs to restore his memories and reveal the suitcase's location. When Dr. Garza attempted to inject the drugs, Kane fought back and attacked him. Upon learning this, Kane agrees to be injected with the drugs so he can understand the current situation and clarify the events leading up to the accident. As Kane's memory returns, Eddie and his men become increasingly concerned about the threat he poses, and they work to find and capture him. They close off all exits from the hospital and cut off the electricity in an effort to trap him. When Kane tries to leave, he finds that all exits are blocked. He then tries calling the phone number he found in his wallet and discovers that it belongs to Ethan, an agent of DEA. Ethan asks Kane for his location, but Kane does not know where he is and asks Ethan to track his coordinates. Ethan reveals that Kane is actually a member of the DEA, working to capture a drug cartel network in the U.S. This information conflicts with what Anna told him about being a drug cartel member, leaving Kane confused about who is telling the truth. Kane tells Ethan about his amnesia and the car accident. However, the phone signal suddenly drops, and Ethan cannot trace Kane's location due to the satellite phone he is using. Kane goes to a hidden room on the hospital roof and discovers that it is where Eddie's men manufacture and store cocaine for distribution in the U.S. Kane goes to see Anna in the warehouse and asks her about the hospital's involvement in the drug trade. She admits that the hospital has been working with Eddie's cartel for years in order to pay off debts to investors and increase profits through illegal drug sales. She reaffirms that he is a drug dealer who works with Eddie and General Montejo. On the night of the car accident, he was supposed to hand over the briefcase to the general as part of a deal but fled with the suitcase instead. Soon after, two of Eddie's men attacked them, leading to a fight. Kane defeats them, but more of Eddie's men arrive through the emergency stairs. He uses a gas canister to create an explosion and kill them all. After the explosion, Anna rushes to find a cure for Kane's wounds, and Kane calls Ethan again to tell him about the cafe address and bank account number he found in his wallet. Despite his lack of memory, Ethan again tries to convince Kane that he is a DEA officer, undercover as a drug dealer to catch Eddie and General Montejo. After the call, Ethan urges his team to track down Kane's location at any cost. Anna returns with medicine and treats his wounds before the two of them leave the room. Realizing that Eddie's men are still searching the hospital corridors, Kane and Anna decide to escape through the air vents. However, Kane's phone rings again, and Eddie discovers their location, firing shots into the air vent channel. Kane and Anna narrowly escape and decide to go in a different direction. They eventually end up in the hospital church, where they are confronted by Diego, one of Eddie's men. Diego points a gun at Kane and expresses his disappointment at his betrayal, accusing him of stealing a secret suitcase and running off with $23 million that were meant to be given to General Montejo. After hearing this, Kane finally remembers receiving $23 million from General Montejo and that the money is in the account he found in his wallet. Kane asks Diego to contact Eddie so that he can talk to him directly. After pushing Diego out of the building, Kane asks Eddie to meet him on the hospital roof. However, Eddie secretly orders a hired sniper to watch Kane from the roof of the opposite building and signal when to open fire. As Kane confronts Eddie on the roof, the tension between them reaches a breaking point. Meanwhile, Ethan and his team had finally tracked down the location of Kane, who was being held in a small hospital that had been converted into a drug manufacturing factory by Eddie's cartel. The police gave the DEA team 6 hours to rescue Kane from the building, threatening to blow it up if they failed. That night, Kane met Eddie on the hospital rooftop, where Eddie revealed that he was a police agent, working undercover to take down the drug network protected by General Montejo. However, Kane was skeptical of Eddie's claims, as the information he had received from Anna differed from what he was telling him. Eddie asked Kane where he had hidden the secret suitcase that was meant to be delivered to General Montejo, but he refused to give him the information. Kane had regained his memories and remembered hiding the suitcase in a hidden warehouse in the hospital. However, during their conversation, Eddie accidentally moved his hand, causing the hired snipers to misinterpret the gesture as a signal for help. They began firing at Eddie and Kane. After narrowly avoiding the bullets, Eddie was forced to confess that he was not actually a member of the police. Eddie, one of the bosses in General Montejo's protected drug cartel, had been friends with Kane for several years. However, when the other bosses learned that Kane was a police officer, they pressured Eddie to kill him. Faced with no other choice, Eddie decided to eliminate Kane. Upon learning all of this, Kane quickly fled, jumping from the hospital roof to another building. He contacted Ethan, revealing that he had regained his memories of his mission as a DEA agent, though he had not recovered all of his memories. Cain admitted that he had gone rogue from his DEA mission and had planned to keep the money he received from General Montejo for himself. He apologized for betraying the police and promised to help the DEA arrest Eddie and other members of the cartel. Cain requested that Ethan send a heavily armed special forces team to storm the hospital at dawn. The following morning, Eddie and his men decided to evacuate all of the nurses and doctors at the hospital and take them hostage. At the same time, Anna approached Cain and asked him to reveal the suitcase's location, explaining that the country's safety was at stake. She revealed her identity as a CIA agent assigned to secure the briefcase before it fell into the wrong hands, but Cain was still hesitant to trust her completely and rushed off, leaving her behind. Upon learning that Eddie intended to kill one of the nurses in the hospital lobby, Cain intervened and asked him to meet on the 5th floor. When Eddie arrived, he suddenly opened fire on Cain, leading to a shootout between them. After Cain's gun ran out of ammunition, he lured Eddie into a room, and the two engaged in a fierce hand-to-hand fight. Eddie almost killed Cain, but Anna arrived just in time and shot Eddie dead. At the same time, after seeing Anna for what felt like the 100th time, Cain finally remembered that she was the woman from his memories and that they had been in a relationship for several years. Anna had managed to retrieve the suitcase from its hidden location in Dr. Garza's room, and the two fled from the hospital. Meanwhile, Ethan and his team defeated Eddie's men and rescued the hostages. When Ethan's men tried to take the suitcase from Cain, he attacked them and demanded what was inside. Ethan was forced to reveal that the suitcase contained evidence of crimes committed by high-ranking officials, including the President of the United States. Ethan had been using Cain to obtain the suitcase on orders from the President. Upon learning this, Cain and Anna decided to kill Ethan and his men and take the suitcase with them. They planned to expose the corrupt officials by giving the suitcase to the press and starting a new life somewhere else with the $23 million he had in his account. The moral that we can learn from the movie is that no matter how well a crime is covered up, it will eventually be exposed, and justice will be served to those brave enough to fight for it.